Sorry, you do have to stop that, take that off your screen now. So good morning and welcome to this full moon somatic practice. And you're going to begin in standing, so slowly make your way up into standing. I'm going to stay seated so you can see me. And as you come up into standing, you might like to roll up, hang for a bit, then roll up. If you're already up, stay up. And as you stand, just notice how you've landed on your feet. Notice the imprint on your feet. And notice if there is more weight on your right or your left foot. And if you're not sure, start to shift your weight across and bring the weight from your right foot to your left foot. And just shift the weight and then just stop in where feels comfortable to you, where feels like home, where feels familiar. And then maybe close down the eyes if you haven't already and notice the weight around the four corners of your feet. The base of the big toe, the base of the little toe, the inner and outer blade of the heel. And notice if your knees are soft or locked. And just notice what you've got. Then bring your awareness to your pelvis. And if your pelvis was a bowl of water, notice, is it level? Are you pouring the water forward? Are you pouring it out the back? And then notice where you're looking. So gently blink your eyes open. Notice where you're looking in space. And then scan back down and feel the shoulders. Notice if there's any tension in the shoulders. Notice the weight of the arms and how the arms fall. And maybe even check the height of your arms. And so I'll just kneel up so you can see that. Just rubbing your middle finger across your pants. Notice where those fingers are in space. And then notice if there's any, excuse me, any rotation in your body. And so the easiest way for you to do that is take yourself for a little walk and notice as you roll over your foot how that feels. Notice the left and right and walk yourself to a wall. And then stand with the back against your wall. And some of you might even need to go out of the room. Hopefully you've got AirPods so or somehow you can hear me. Stand with the back of your body against the wall. I like that Liv can't find a piece of wall. I'm sometimes like that in my rooms too. And as you stand against the wall, just have both buttocks against the wall. Your door, remember you could always use your door if there's no wall space. And you're standing with the back of your pelvis against the wall. And just notice with the pelvis against the wall if there's a rotation. And then notice from your pelvis, so you're in standing against the wall. And then notice if there's a rotation through your shoulders. So feeling the back of the pelvis on the wall, you might bring your hands to the front of the pelvis, and that'll tell you, you'll get a sense, one pelvis is rolled back, one's rolled forward. And then see if you can feel what's happening in your shoulders, shoulder blades against the wall, as long as there's no pressure in your mid-back. And don't worry about taking your head back, just let your head relax where it is in space. And maybe you can feel if your shoulders are rotated. And just take all that in. Is there a rotation? Have you got one shoulder forward, one pelvis back, or are you pretty even today? And then take yourself for a walk again and notice the left and right side of your body. Think about your spine, the natural curves of your spine, and how the left and right side move. Can you notice that rotation through your ribs, opposite arm to leg moving forward? How easily does the arm swing? And is it swinging from your shoulder girdle or is it just from your elbows? Remember, I always say, if you're not sure, exaggerate one. So just really swing from your elbows and then let that go. And then let the movement of your arms come from your ribs as you walk. and then let that go. And then make your way back onto your mat and lay down onto your back. And as you lay down onto your back, feel free to have your legs long or your knees bent. And notice your imprint. Take yourself to your favorite beach. Rosie's about the only one of us who can access. Oh, no. Yep. She's the only one who. Oh, and Alex is in Port Macquarie too. So imagine you're lying on your favorite beach. And remember, if your legs are long and there's any discomfort in your back, please bend your knees and plant your feet. And find your midline first today. So take your awareness to the tip of your tailbone and take your awareness up through your spine to the back of your head. And then notice, how does the left side of the body melt away from the spine? And how does the right side? And is it even? Is it the whole side of the body that feels higher on one side or lower on the other? Or is there a diagonal pattern like we played with last week? So notice what you've got. Notice the weight on the back of the shoulder blades. And then notice how that plays out down your arms. So if one shoulder blade's further down into the floor, you might feel that whole arm sinking into the floor more than the other. Notice what you notice. The other image I like to imagine when this left and right balancing that we do on the full moon is that you're an ink blot between a piece of paper and someone squashed you and opened you up and made a beautiful butterfly. And you're lying on the floor and you're just noticing, what does the ink blot look like? Remember, if your knees are bent, you're sort of scanning into, where are the knees in space? Where's the weight on the feet? Whereas if your legs are long, you're feeling the weight on the calf, the thighs, and the outer heel. Or where is it on the heel? Now, as you collect all that information, take a few breaths to really take it in. So feel free to bend your knees if you find that's easier to use your diaphragm with your abdominals and your hip flexors off stretch. Focusing where your diaphragm is, your lower ribs, imagining this painted gold band all around your body. That is this amazing muscle, the diaphragm. And as you breathe in, let your belly be really relaxed. Soft belly breath. Feel the diaphragm expanding in all directions. And then when you breathe out, notice how the diaphragm relaxes and sinks back up into its double dome. Gentle breath into your lower ribs, upper abdomen. And just notice today when you breathe, how easy is it for you to breathe with your diaphragm? How's your week been? It's pretty hard at the moment not to be in your head. So if you feel like you've had a week like that, maybe the next time you breathe in through both nostrils and let your breath flood your brain. And as you exhale and feel the diaphragm soften, send your breath down through your body, out through your feet, and deep into the earth. And take 2 more breaths in this manner. Feel that you've allowed your body to arrive, your mind to settle into your body. And gently bringing your hands to your heart space if you wish to dedicate this practice. Atha Yoga Nu Shasanam. It is with great respect and infinite love for ourselves and all beings that we now come to this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bending up your knees now and planting your feet. And just noticing if that changes your imprint. Morning, Ed. So we're doing a full moon practice. So just take a moment, if you've come in a little later, to feel the difference between the left and right sides of your body. And notice what happens when you bend your knees, if your legs are long. And then the next time you need to breathe in, start to inhale and let your back arch. Rock into an arch and just notice how far up the spine does that movement go? Did your head follow your pelvis? And then let the back melt. And let the back just sink down towards the floor. Let gravity return your back to the floor. And then take your hands and place them on your lower abdomen with your little fingers in your hip creases. And the next time you need to breathe in, really relax the abdomen. Let the pelvis roll towards your feet. Feel your belt line lift off the floor. And pause at the top of the arch, letting your breath flow. And notice, have you rocked into one side of the pelvis more than the other? And if you're not sure, sometimes even you'll feel it in the front, like one hip crease will be deeper than the other. And then let your back just melt. Let the back go. Let it melt like warm honey drizzling onto your morning porridge. And then take one more. This time we're going to take it into a flatten as well. So as you inhale and arch, feel your pelvis roll forward. Feel the ribs expand. Maybe keep your hand on the side that you've dipped towards. And then take the other hand and put it up higher on your ribs. And as you exhale, let your back melt like butter melting into a hot pan. And then sink into your flatten, sinking your ribs down. Let your hand encourage your ribs to move. Feel your pelvis roll to your ribs and your ribs to your pelvis. Your head will tip back if you can let go of the tension behind your shoulders. Let them follow the movement. And then very slowly start to ease out the front like it's a rope that you're releasing from your hands or between your hands, and then let your shoulders release. If you're not sure which side you're rocking to, do it one more time and see. Another thing that might help you is to take your focus to the very tip of your tailbone and imagine it's like a rudder of a boat. As you inhale and arch, which way does the rudder tend to head towards? To the left or the right? And it might be really subtle. And then slow motion, release your back. So there's lots of reasons why we might tip towards one side. And one possible reason is that the opposite side of your back is tight. So let's set up our first side. So if you rock towards your left, you're going to pick up your right leg and that's going to be your first side. If you rock to your right, then you're going to pick up the left leg and that's going to be your first side. So pick your side and pick the foot up off the floor. And if you're pretty even, just pick a leg and lift it up. That's the easy answer. And then take the same hand behind your head. So if you've got your right leg up, it's your right hand. Your spare hand comes across to your ribs. You're going to take a breath in and let your back arch. And as you do, imagine you're trying to let that foot release to the floor. You want to let your hip flexors go. And then as you breathe out, release your back. Tuck your elbow and sit on up. And you're drawing your elbow towards your knee. And then super, super slow. Keep the leg where it is. Imagine you're lifting your head off your shoulders. And slow motion release your head to the floor. Bringing your arm out. You're going to touch your heel to the floor now. So you might need to go sideways if you're on a sticky mat. Touch your heel down with your toes up and slowly begin to lengthen this leg, keeping your back really relaxed. And remember, you don't want your pelvis to tip forward, so you could even keep your knee straight. Or if you can release your pelvis and lower back, you'll let that leg completely go. Then we'll frog leg this leg up and pick it up off the floor in that position. Just watch that your pelvis hasn't rolled right over to this side. If it has, let the other leg just mildly roll out so that the pelvis is flat. Same hand behind the head. So this is our first side. We do the whole sequence on it. Take a breath in and let your back arch. As you breathe out, let the back go. Tuck the elbows, sit on up. So your knee is moving more towards your armpit now. If you want to stop your leg with your spare hand, bring the back of it and stop the thigh towards the outside. Keep that pressure on your hand and your leg, and super slow, start to release your upper body. When your head touches down, you'll bring your arm down, touch your foot to the floor close to your pelvis in the same shape, and then slowly let it go. And completely let it switch off, if you can. Might need to let the other knee come up to let that happen. Then frog leg this leg back up. Keep your foot on the floor and roll to the inner blade so your knees are touching. Same hand behind the head. You might start with your hand on your ribs to remind you that it's the sinking of your ribs in a moment that lifts your head. So breath in and arch. Press your shoulder back. Breath out, let the back go. Sink the ribs to sit you up. Then pick up the foot. So now your elbow's pointing to the outside of your calf. If you want to stop your leg, your hand's on the inside. Hold that still. Don't let your leg move as you slowly, see if you can take at least 3 breaths. Feel like you're lifting your head off your shoulders. Slowly place your head back down, release the arm. Then touch the leg down in the same position, so it's going to brush past the other leg, and slide your leg away. And then when you let it completely relax, it may roll out. And then frog leg that leg back up. And take the leg back in towards your chest, and this time interlace both hands on your behind your thigh. On your inhaling breath, imagine you're trying to stomp your foot onto the floor, resist with your arms firmly. Don't let your leg move. And now keep all your focus in the back of the body. Think of a rope from the back of your head to behind your knee. And let that go. And as you let the back go, you might feel that you can draw the knee in with your arms, noticing that your belly and your hip flexors are relaxed. Breath in, let your back arch. Feel like you're stomping your foot onto the floor. Stop that. Imagine that rope on the back of your body that's just been shortened, and now start to let it go. Soften your back, your buttocks, your hamstrings, and maybe you draw your knee in. So now you've brought your knee in as close to your chest as the back of the body will allow. So keep the leg in contact and then go to move the knee towards straight. Nice work. So really important when you do that you don't let the thigh move away. So stay in nice and close. Find your edge. And then as you go to breathe in, you gently arch your back just the tiniest bit. And then let your back go, and slowly come in. And one more time. Sorry, Ruby, I didn't see you waiting to come in. Last time, take a breath in and arch your back. And then let the back spread and bring that knee. And now it'll come more towards your armpit, or take it out towards the armpit. And feel free to hold here in a bear cub, a half bear cub. Again, notice what's going on in your pelvis. Your pelvis will want to roll towards the right side. So maybe just rock that left leg out, your other leg out a little bit. It'll rock towards your first side. And enjoy releasing through the back of your body. And then gently release the foot to the floor and pause for a moment on your back and just notice your imprint. So somewhere along the line this morning, you might start to feel more balanced, and just take note. And it could be already that by releasing this, what we've called the first side of the back of the body and the front, that you're more even on the floor. If you're curious, take an inhaling arch. Go slow and watch the rudder of your tailbone. And notice, is it going straight down between your legs towards 6, or is it still deviating to one side? And then let your back go. And then we're rolling over onto a belly. So if you want to roll through your spine, feel free. And that's always quite cool when you've done one side of your back. Notice how it feels. And then you're coming over onto your belly. And you're going to turn your head towards this first side. And as you turn your head to that first side, bring your arm out into this little Sphinx position. And just make sure your shoulder's happy. So some people like the arm further away, closer in. Do you take the hand higher than your head or lower? Find your space. And have your feet hip width apart, so just check that they are. So we go up, make sure I'm all in. And the other hand, if you're happy, down beside you with your thumb tucked underneath your pelvis. Or remember, if your neck is not happy, you could always put that hand underneath your head. Back lift on the same side. So just get your brain to commute that we're doing the same side. So press down through this first leg and the first arm, the one you're looking towards, and feel the front of the pelvis lift. You might even feel it rock into the other hand. And then let that go. Let the front of the pelvis melt into the floor as you lift your chest. You draw your shoulder blade towards your spine and you lift the same leg. Not too high, just enough to feel the back muscles contract on this one side. Let go of what you don't need at the top and then super, super slow. Let your back lengthen to lower you down and completely switch off. Let your legs roll. Let's do that again. Tops of knees, tops of feet face the floor. Press down with the first side. Feel the front of the body contract. Maybe press down with the cheek if your neck is happy. Let that melt. Lifting up. Feel the shoulder blade glide towards your spine. At the top, let go of what you don't need. Check that you haven't rolled this leg out. So you want top of knee, top of foot facing the floor. And feel free, if it's better for your neck, to look to the floor. Look at the floor. Otherwise, keep looking at your thumb or your arm as you slowly lower. Let everything go. So let your legs relax. Then we'll bend up this knee. Bring your hands underneath your forehead and rest your forehead towards the floor. Press down with this first side. Press down with both arms. Feel the front of the body contract again on this first side. And then let the front of the pelvis melt into the floor. Lift your chest and lift just this knee. And it may be an imaginary that you might imagine you're going to lift it up. You may actually lift it. And then see, can you straighten the leg? Slowly lower your back as you lower your leg. Bend the knee. Press down with the top of the knee and the arms. Feel the front of the pelvis contract. Now let your hip flexors go. Let the front of the pelvis mesh into the floor. As you lift your chest, you're looking down at your hands so you're not creating tension at the back of the neck. And maybe you lift the thigh, or imagine you're lifting the thigh. Option to lower the knee first, but if you can, straighten the leg, then lower your trunk as you lower your leg. One more time. Pressing down. Release. Lifting up. Doesn't need to be high. Looking at your hands. Straightening that leg. Go nice and slow, pendiculating through your hamstrings. And then slowly release. Switch everything off. Have a little rock. And as you rock, just notice how this first side feels compared to the second. Doesn't matter how many times I do this practice, I love it. Love that. Letting your brain feel that asymmetry. Come back to center. And now you're going to roll over onto your side so that this first side is up. And you might need something underneath your head. I'm really happy when I lie on my side just to have my head down. If you prefer, you need something, maybe grab just a cushion, but you don't want your head too high. So see how I'm on the edge of the cushion. So this is your first side, is up, yeah? And have your knees together, feet together. Have a little bit of space so you don't need your knees too high. And let's come into this beautiful arm slide or arrow. And start to turn your chest towards the floor and allow your arm to follow your ribs. And then slowly roll your ribs like a barrel. Let your arm get dragged along for the ride. And this is where you may not want anything under your head. So you can just let your head roll with you. Adjust if you need a smaller towel or something under your head. And take your time. Go back to your beach. Be on your favorite beach. So many beautiful beaches we could go to. And the next time you bring your hands back together, pause. And then take this hand straight up to the ceiling and slowly take it behind you. And just notice how far does the center of the body roll to allow you to take your arm back. So there'll be a point before you feel the tightness in your chest, your shoulder, or your arm. There'll be a point where your middle stops moving. See if you can sense that. And then bring your hand back up to vertical. And let's come into this version of woe is me. So you're going to take your top hand, bend your elbow, and stick your fingers into your breastbone. Yep. Your bottom hand can just hang on the floor for now, or you might like it on your top ribs. You decide whether you need a pillow or whether you're happy just with nothing under your head. You're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to curl into a tight little ball, taking your nose towards your pelvis. Pause. Now roll this top shoulder towards your bottom hip. So cross your body. And I quite like now to take that spare hand and just stop my shoulder. So I'm resisting. Your head might lift off your pillow if you've got one. Feel the tightness, like you've got a rope from your pubic bone to your first hand on your breastbone, from your bottom hip to your top shoulder. Now, can you slowly let those ropes go? Very tempting here to pull with the back of your body, but rather let go of the rope between your pelvis and your hand. And now, keep your hand and your shoulder in contact as you release your middle, release your ribs. And straight away, look how far your arm will go. Come back to center. Bring that hand onto your breastbone. Take a breath in. As you exhale, curl into a tight ball, nose towards your pelvis. Now roll your shoulder across and resist. Like there's a rope trying to pull it to that bottom hip and you're stopping with your bottom hand. Pause. Let go of the center rope first, pubic bone to breastbone. Try not to use your back, but rather feel this lengthening up. There is a difference. Pause there. Now, if you just pull with your back, your shoulder's going to move away from your hand. So could you, rather than that, let go through your middle, give yourself a little tap, and keep your hand and shoulder in contact as you roll your ribs back. Let's do it one more time. Come on to your side. Breath in. As you exhale, curl into a tight little ball. Roll your shoulder across. Pause. Super slow. Release. Pelvis to ribs first, or breastbone. Then spiral. Clonk. Then come back to center. Take your hand up to the ceiling again. Actually, let's bring it down to the bottom hand. Start where we started. Take it up and let your ribs roll open and notice how far your arm goes back. Anyone else have a good party trick? Yeah? Yeah, good. And so remember, any tightness in your shoulder is not just about your shoulder, is it? And from here, let's take it into propeller. So if you're comfy with your arm back where it is, just bend up your bottom knee, straighten your top leg. And then take your arm over your head, turn your chest towards the floor. And the more you turn your chest towards the floor, you might be able to take your leg back. And then enjoy bringing your leg forward as you roll your arm across your body or over your head. Do what's right for your shoulder. Remember, if there's any issues in your shoulder, just keep your arm tucked into your body, because this is actually about moving from your center. So you don't even need to have that arm extended. And if it's a bit strong in your back, same idea, bend your knee. Move from your center. See if you can lengthen through your waist. Maybe as you get into the pose, you extend your arm and your leg. And then you tuck them back in to move, and then maybe you extend them, maybe you don't. Enjoy. A few more breaths. And then when you're ready, you're going to pause and roll onto your back. Your choice, you might like to take your legs long again, or you might want to bend your knees and just notice your imprint. So when you started, if you thought about the in-blood and how the sides of your body melted away from the center line, there might have been one side sinking down more. Notice what's happening now. And then bend up the knees. If there's any pressure in your back from what we were just doing on your side, make sure you release your back. And then bring your knees, feet down. And again, notice your imprint. Slowly take an arch and a flatten and notice the tip of your tailbone. And I love how when you're changing, retraining your brain, it almost does this, I don't know where to go. You might do like a little squiggle and then go all the way into flatten and just notice, is your head starting to follow your pelvis? And slowly come back to neutral. And after those back bends and side body work, let's release the front of the body with a flower, half flower. So we're still moving this first side, this whichever side you are moving. Your spare hand can come across to the ribs and reach across your body as far as your hand will go. On your inhaling breath, let your back arch and consciously press your shoulder back. And then just let your arms spiral along the floor. A bit more of an angle so you can see. Spiral along the floor, pressing that shoulder. Let the knee roll out as well. Feel the whole back of the body contract, front of the body lets go. Then let your back melt. Let the back go. Slump in the center. Roll your knees together. Spiral the arm in. Sink your ribs with your hand. Hold. If you enjoyed before putting pressure on the front of your shoulder to stop yourself from using the back and your hand will reach, feel free. Bring it across. And now super, super slow. Try and get the sequence. Soften your belly, inner thighs, ribs, chest. Rather than pulling your arm back to the floor, see if you can let go of the front to melt the floor, shoulder to the floor. And if you do that, your hand and shoulder will stay in contact to the very end. Yeah? Let's do that again. Hand starts on the rib, the spare one. Breath in, let your back arch. Consciously press the shoulder back. It's the pressing of your shoulder that starts to spiral your arm. Let your knee go wide. Chin will soften as that breastbone lifts on the arch. Exhale, let go of the back. Melt your back. Sink. Tip the head back as you spiral the arm across, knees squeeze in together. Hold. Spare hand can come up onto your shoulder if you can reach. Keep that contact, matching the resistance between hand and shoulder. And slowly soften. Belly, inner thighs, ribs, chest, collarbone, arm rolls out. Notice your imprint, particularly your shoulder blades to your hands. And then take this first hand up towards the ceiling. You're going to roll your ribs like a barrel of your finest liquid to that second side. And as you roll your ribs to the second side, you're reaching your hand straight up to the ceiling. And then slowly let the ribs roll back. Just the one arm. Off you go. 3 or 4 times. And then let your other hand join and interlace your hands together. And bring your feet and knees together. And you're rolling your ribs towards that second side, keeping both elbows straight, and let your arms just roll. So this is a curious move. When you first do this move, you'll notice that your brain just wants to bend your elbows because it thinks that we need to just use our arms to do lots of things. But see, and you're only going to this one side, see if you can let your ribs roll like a barrel, keeping your elbows straight. And then come back to center. Release your arms down beside you. Notice your imprint. Notice the side bodies. Take a breath. See if you can even notice a difference in the expansion of your ribs from your first side to your second. And then do you need to bring your knees to chest? Would you like to have another arch to notice the difference between the sides? Or is there anything else you need before we move to the second side? So honor that. If you're bringing your knees into your chest, you might even like to circle 3 times in one direction. You might even want to go back into a bear cub. That'll be really fun because one side's going to feel really different to the other. That's so cool. And you could pull this second leg into position, but just see if you can come to the point and feel the resistance on one side and then the second side. And even those who are still circling, notice how that first side of your lower back and pelvis feels. And notice how much of your body's in contact compared to the side we're about to do. And you might even like to extend your legs if you're comfortable there, just for a breath or two, and take that in. Notice if your legs are long, how your legs flop out to the side. Notice the imprint of your shoulder blades. And maybe even gently turn your head a little from side to side and notice how that feels. And I'd like to do one more move for your neck, because at the moment I think it's pretty hard not to be in your head or to hold some tension through the neck and shoulders. And this is a great release for the front of your neck. So bend up your knees and take both hands and interlace them behind your head. And you're going to gently tip your knees, very gently. So if you think about a bowl of water, all we're really doing is sloshing the water into that second side. And you turn your nose towards your knees. So again, you've turned your head slightly, quarter turn if you like, towards the second side. This is a strong move, so you're not going to necessarily have to move very far. And if when you take your knees slightly to the side, it feels too much for your back, just keep them in the center and turn your head slightly to the second side. So we're working this muscle at the front of you on the first side. Yeah. Sternocleidomastoid, great release for it. Take a breath in, back might arch, shoulders might press back. Let that go. Sink your ribs and gently just lift your cheek towards the ceiling. The tiniest move, like you're balancing a glass of something on your cheek and you've lifted it up. And then super, super slow, lengthen from your pelvis to your ribs. Feel like you're lifting your head off your shoulders and slowly let your head come down and take your arms out and put your head in the center. Hands behind the head, dip or tip that pelvis slightly to the second side, turn your nose slightly, breath in, breath out, let the back go, sink the ribs, gently lift the cheek, so not the nose, but the cheek towards the ceiling rather than your knees. Super, super slow. Lengthen, pelvis, ribs. Feel it in your mid-back. Slowly release your head to center and bring your arms out. I'd love to look at the fascial connection of this muscle. It must have a really deep connection into your mid-back because often you can feel it as you release. And then just come back to center, separate your feet if you brought them together. And just gently turn your head again from side to side and notice how it feels. And then pick up your second leg. And so now we're going to do the whole sequence on the second side. Now, if you're like me, and after we do that first side, I'm very balanced, then it means that you may not need to do as many moves on this side. So listen to your body. We start with the foot off the floor. You need to be able to slide, so you might bring yourself on an angle. Same hand behind your head, other hand comes across to the ribs. It's a breath in and let your back arch. As you breathe out, let your back go, tuck your elbow and sit on up. Super, super slow, start to release. On this first one, keep your hand on your ribs and think about creating space through your ribs. You might even feel like you sort of side bend away from the leg a little as you lower. Touching your head down, bringing your arm out. With your toes up, touch your heel close to your pelvis. Super slow slide. Making sure that your back is released so you don't necessarily have to straighten your knee. Because if you go to straighten your knee and your pelvis was to tip, then that's a sign your hip flexors are tight and you better to stop before. Then frog leg the leg up. Hold the leg in the same shape as you picked it off the floor. Hand behind the head, inhale, arch. Exhale, sink those ribs as you tuck your elbow in and sit on up. Stop your thigh with the back of your hand towards the outside. Super slow. Release the upper body. Once the head touches down, bring your arm. Touch the leg down close to your pelvis in this position. Watch what's happening in your pelvis. You might need to rock your other leg out to keep the pelvis level and slowly release and switch off. Then frog leg the leg back up. Feet are on the floor. Rock the knee in so you're on the inner blade of the foot. Hand behind the head. Inhale, little arch. Exhale, let your back go. Sink, sit on up, and then pick up the foot. Stop at the top. If you want to resist the leg, it's on the inside. Super, super slow. Keep your leg as still as you can. As you lift your head off your shoulders, touch your head down, arm out. Same position of the leg. Touch down. You're going to brush past the other leg as you slide the leg to long. Have a moment where you just let everything go. And slide this leg back up. Come back on your mat. Both hands interlace behind the thigh. On your inhale, you go to arch your back, and it's like you're trying to stomp your foot onto the floor. Then release and gently draw the thigh towards you by letting your back go. So there's a difference here. You could pull with your hip flexors at the front, but this is about releasing your back. So as you arch, really resist the movement of your leg with both arms. So you feel the muscles contract in your back and your buttocks and your hammies. And now let that rope go from the back of your head, through your ribs, the lower back, over your buttocks, behind your thigh, and maybe you can draw your knee in. Hold your leg in now and start to move the sole of the foot to the ceiling without letting your thigh move away. So let's do that again. So bend your knee, because I've got you all projected onto the wall so I can see what you're doing. So gently bring your knee in towards your chest, as close as is comfortable for you. Now don't let it move away as you go to straighten your leg. Now notice how it's in the muscle belly. Well done. Not behind the tendons in your knee. Go to arch your back. It's like you're stomping your foot onto the ceiling. The leg moves a little, you resist quite early here. And then let your back go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And again, go to arch your back. Feel like you're trying to stomp your foot onto the ceiling, resist, and then super, super slow, let your back go. One more if you need it, or if not, bring both legs in and go into bear cup, and you might hold both feet and just notice how that second leg feels already. You can hold on to your knees. Remember, if it's not right for you, you could circle. Nice. And then roll through your spine or just roll over. Enjoy rolling through your spine. You might even want to hold on with your forearms this time. And make your way over onto your belly. And as you come over onto your belly, have your head turned towards this second side. Other hand can be down beside you with your thumb or palm chopped underneath your pelvis. Sorry, just making sure my earpod stays in there. Or remember, this hand could be underneath your head or cheek. Check that the feet line up with the sit bones, tops of knees, tops of feet facing the floor. You're going to press down with this second leg and the arm. And then let that go. And you lift your trunk, your head, and your long leg, and see if you can glide your shoulder blade towards your spine. At the top, feel free to look to the floor or look to your thumb. Let go of what you don't need. So easy to over effort. And then super, super slow, let your back lengthen to slowly lower yourself down and completely switch off. And again, you'll press down with the top of the thigh, the arm, maybe even the side of the face. Let that go. Inhaling, let the front lengthen to lift or allow the back to lift you up. You look to the floor, look to your thumb. Let go of what you don't need and super slow. Feel that shoulder blade gliding over your ribs as you let go of your back to lower you down. Then head comes to center. Bend up this leg on the second side. Press down with the top of the knee. Press down with the arms. Release. Let the pelvis spread into the floor as you lift your chest. Watch you're not lifting with your head, but your chest and your head follows. You might lift the knee, or you may imagine you lifted. At the top, could you straighten nice and slow? Get to feel those hamstrings lengthening actively, and then slowly release your trunk and your leg. Press down, knees bent, top of knee presses down, thighs, hands, release. Pelvis melts, lift your chest, look towards your hands, chin is soft, neck is long. Straightening your leg. So this could be why it's your second side. How are those hamstrings feeling about letting go? Slowly release. One more time if you need it. Bend the knee, press down. Release. Lift chest. Head follows, but you're looking down, not ahead. Straightening the leg. Super slow release. Completely switching off. Rock your pelvis again. How now, brown cow, as Lisa Peterson says. But much nicer in an Irish accent than that. And then come to stillness and notice your imprint on your front. You're going to roll to your side now with that second side uppermost. Feel free to bring a towel or a pillow under your head if you need it. And we're starting with an arm slide. So set yourselves up. Palms come together. And let's turn the chest towards the floor. I like to go that way first to remind you that that's a really important part of this move, turning your chest towards the floor so that you can slide your hands past your bottom hand. And then start to roll your ribs open and let your arm come with you. Let your ribs move your arm. Let your ribs move your arm. And how does it feel on this side of your body? keep the knees still on this side. Or does the pelvis want to come with you? Just notice what you've got. See if you can keep your legs together for a couple of rounds. And then when you're ready, bring your hands together. And you'll take that hand straight up towards the ceiling and release the arm behind you. And just notice on this side, where do you feel it? Could be in the waist, could be the ribs, could be the shoulder. And notice, when does the center of your body stop? So do it again and see, can you sense when the barrel of your ribs stops moving? And then how you can take your arm a bit further and then you'll feel it in the arm. Then hand comes back up to vertical, bend the elbow, take your fingertips and stick them into your breastbone. Your spare hand can be on the floor, or you can bring it across to your ribs, the lower ribs at the top. Breath in, think about a rope from your pelvis to your breastbone and from your bottom hip to that top shoulder. As you breathe out, tighten those ropes as you curl. Now watch that you don't bring your legs up. Try and take your chest towards your legs or nose to your pelvis. Now lengthen pubic bone to breastbone. Nice and slow. Resist the temptation to pull with your back. And then just do that again. I just want you to get a sense of curling a bit tighter if you can. So curl it a bit tighter. And now roll your shoulder across towards your bottom hip. And then stop the top shoulder with your bottom hand. Now you've got those two ropes on. Super slow, lengthen the front. Try not to pull with your back. It's really easy to just let the back do the work here rather than releasing the front. Pause. And now, if you just, everyone have a go at that. Pull your shoulder away from your hand and notice how you've just pulled with your back. And now bring your shoulder forward, press down like you're trying to go back towards that opposite hip. Stop with your hand. Keep that pressure on the hand and the shoulder, and now let go of your ribs. So if you put your other bottom hand down on your ribs and think about releasing through your ribs, through your abdominals on the diagonal. Aha, totally different way to come out of that movement. Let's do it again. Breath in, breath out, curl, then roll your shoulder towards the opposite hip, hold. Super slow, release up, pubic bone to breastbone. Lengthening the front. Go slow because otherwise it's so easy to pull with your back. And then roll your ribs, letting go across your front. One more time if you need it. To your side, breath in, curl into a tight little ball, shoulder comes across. Stop. See if you can curl a little more. Sink your breastbone. Got to contract the front to pandiculate it to really get your brain to sense and then let it go. Now slowly lengthen pubic bone to breastbone. Take your time. Don't rush it. This is where your brain gets to actively lengthen the muscles. Keeping your hand and shoulder in contact, let go across your front. Then let everything go. 3 parts of a pandiculation, contract it more. And sometimes you have to sink that little bit extra to get that. Slowly release, actively lengthening, completely switch off. Then bring your arm back down to your bottom hand. And notice now, take your arm up. Oh, how good's that? And then let's go into propeller. So you can go straight into it from here. If you find that's a bit deep, come back onto your side, straighten your top leg, turn your chest towards the floor first. Then slowly bring your leg forward as your ribs roll open. Your arm can go across your body or over your head if your shoulder allows. Again, if you need to take your hand and your leg out of it, particularly if you feel like you're a little bit arm and leg centric. On this side, my brain likes to use my arm and leg a little more than my center. So get them out of the way and move from your center. And then put it all back together. And when you feel that is balanced for you, come onto your back. I'm just flipping around so you can see. And pause on your back for a moment. Knees bent or legs long. If you need to bring your knees into your chest, honour that. You need to sit up. So, Alex, you could do your flower in sitting. We're about to do flower, so you could do it in sitting if it's better for you. So, you're going to come into a one-armed flower. So, take your spare hand and bring it across onto your ribs as far as you can. On your inhaling breath, let your back arch and press that shoulder back into the floor, rolling the arm along the floor. Let the knee roll wide. Remember, if your pelvis tips, let the other leg go wide. Then sink in the center. Let your back go. Let it melt. Roll your knees in, press them together. Feel like you're rolling that shoulder across to your opposite hip, just like you were on your side a moment ago. And if you liked that feedback of hand on the shoulder, bring the spare hand to the front of the shoulder. Hold. See if you can soften. So don't take the pressure off your hand straight away. If you get a lot of tension in your shoulder and neck, you'll notice that's what your brain probably wants to do. So stop it. Just stop it. And relax your belly, your inner thighs, your lower ribs, your chest, collarbones, and slowly let gravity take your arm back. So your arm is the last thing to release. Let's try it again. Breath in, let your back arch. Hand could come back onto the ribs if you like. Press your shoulder back, let your arm follow and spiral along. Then sink, and you can let that leg roll out too. Sorry, I'm just making sure you can see me. And then sink in the center, slump, roll your shoulder like it's rolling across your body to your opposite hip. Bring your hand up, resist. Just notice, did your head tip back? And when we're doing a one-armed flower, you might notice your head tips to one side. And now slowly release. Keep the pressure of hand and shoulder. Release belly. It's like you're letting the rope out from your pelvis, inner thighs, ribs, chest, collarbone, and just let your arm slide back down to the floor. You might like to do that one more time, or if you feel pretty balanced now, just notice your shoulder blades. You choose. You could even go back and do one on the other side if you needed, or do a flower together. Breath in, both arms spiral back, knees go wide, chin more soften to your chest. Let your back go. The more you let your back go, the easier it is to slump and roll your shoulders forward. Let your head tip back, squeeze your knees. Super, super slow. Soften pelvis, belly, chest, collarbones, shoulders, arms. Just notice that you've nod your head and make sure you're back in neutral. Notice your imprint. Then pick up the second arm, palm faces to the midline. Roll your ribs like a barrel and reach straight up to the ceiling. And then let the ribs just roll back down. Trying to keep your pelvis fairly still here, so you might even like to bring your feet and knees together. And enjoy rolling your ribs. Let your head go wherever it wishes. It might turn towards that side. It might stay looking to the ceiling. And then you might like to come to both sides now. Start to bring that balance between the left and the right, the lunar and the solar. And then come back to center and bring your hands together and interlace them. Elbows stay still, knees and feet together. You're going to roll your ribs first of all to that second side. Sorry, we're using this second arm, so you're actually rolling to the first side, opening up the side we've just been doing. Rolling away from the side you've just been moving. Enjoy. And just let your ribs go and notice how far can you go if you really let go in the center. Let your ribs be like a barrel. Do one more to this to this side we're going to. And now just start to go from side to side. And enjoy rolling side to side. Nice. Try and keep your pelvis fairly still. And see if you can really let go in your center and just let your ribs move. Breathe into a really soft belly. The other way you can do it too in sitting, Alex, is put the middle fingers together and just roll your ribs like a barrel. And that'll bring a little bit more emphasis into your ribs. And just keep rolling from side to side. And then come back to the middle. And we'll release this side of your neck, your sternocleidomastoid muscle. So bring both hands and interlace them behind your head. And you tip your knees slightly towards that first side as you turn your nose slightly to the first side, about a quarter turn with your nose, and let your knees be about the same, so not far. So the muscle you're activating is now facing the ceiling. Your cheek is facing the ceiling on this side. You're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, let your back go and sink in the center and lift your chin towards the ceiling. And then super, super slow, release the front of the body and let your head rest down. And again, breath in, pressing the shoulders back. Maybe there's a little arch in your back. Let your back go. Let your back melt into the floor, so lower back melted. Sink the ribs, lift. It's a tiny move. Could be an imaginary move that you're imagining you're lifting your head. No strain. Super, super slow. Lengthen. Feel that lengthen through your ribs to lower your head down. And actually do take your hands out and let your head come back to the midline to really switch those muscles off. You can do that one more time, or if you feel like, no, I just need an arch and curl, stay in the center. Breath in, let your back arch, press your shoulders back. Breath out, let your back go. Tuck your elbows in. So you create this basket for your head and you sit on up. And now go super slow. So I really want you to feel like you're lifting your head off your shoulders. Slowly releasing, creating space in your ribs. And when your head touches down, bring your arms down. And let's finish. If you need anything, you might be totally cooked. You've done a lot of movement. But if you feel like you'd like to do a wash rag to integrate all of that, then let's go into a wash rag. If you need something else, honor that. If you're coming with me into a wash rag, bring your arms out into that soft T. Tip your pelvis to whichever side you want. And whichever way you've tipped it, you roll that arm like a rolling pin towards them. The other arm rolls up and you look towards the upturned hand. Then let your pelvis come back to the midline. Let everything come to the midline. Tip your pelvis to the other side. Roll the arm down like a rolling pin. Roll this first side up. You can do this in sitting too, Alex. Good work. And then slow motion, let everything come back to center. Do one or two more if you need it. So in sitting, you do the same idea. If you roll one arm down, you tip your knees to that side, roll the other arm up. Yeah, and you just tip them on your chair like you are. And you always look to the arm that's going up. Most of these moves we can modify to do in sitting. And when you're ready, come back to the midline. Notice, do you need to bring your knees to your chest? Do you want to come back into bear cub? And if you're in bear cub or you're circling your knees, just notice the midline, notice your spine. Notice the center of the butterfly in the ink blot. Notice Sushumna, the energetic spine which runs within the physical spinal canal. Our practice is all about balancing the lunar and the solar, Ida and Pingala, the energetic channels, so that your energy flows freely through Sushumna. And before we come to Shavasana, it would be really nice to stand up and see how you feel now. So take your time and roll to one side or roll through your spine. Slowly make your way up into standing. Feel free to roll up, particularly if you did it at the start of the class, because you'll get to feel how does it feel now to roll up one vertebrae at a time. I know it's hard, you just want to stay on the floor, but it's worth it to let it all integrate. And as you land in standing, notice your imprint of your feet. Notice the weight. You might need to rock from side to side, shifting your weight across. And then come back to center. Notice your knees, notice your pelvis, the whole length of your spine, and notice where you're looking. And then take yourself for a little walk and find the wall again. And pause at the wall and stand against the wall and feel into your pelvis and notice, is there still that rotation? So have the pelvis on the floor, feet a little forward. Notice your shoulders. And then take yourself again for a walk and notice, how do your shoulders move? Are your arms moving from your elbows, or are they now moving from your shoulder girdle? And once you've noticed what you need to notice, come and prepare yourself for Shavasana. Hopefully everyone got the Shavasana Spotify full moon relaxation music. If you've managed to master using that, and a couple of people realized this morning that you have to have it on a different device to what I'm talking to you on, then feel free to use that. And it's really nice on the full moon to get your legs up. So that could be, if you're really comfortable with your legs up the wall, get warm, and then you can get in really close and take your legs up the wall. Nothing under your head. The other option would be to bend your knees and put them up on your couch. Or if you've got your bolster, put a bolster underneath your knees. Get really warm and comfortable. And as you settle down, start to notice your spine on the floor. Notice the whole of your spine. Come back to that ink blot. Noticing the center of your being, or the center of the butterfly. I'll let you all get settled and warm. And while everyone's just getting comfy, if you're already there, start to notice how the left and right side of the body fall away from the midline. It's a nice thing about being at home. I can see people have pulled out doonas. Yeah, I can see that. Liv's got a doona on. She's nice and warm. And notice, what is the shape of your butterfly now, your ink butterfly, your ink blot? Maybe gently turn your head from side to side and notice how it feels. And settle. And imagine this morning that you are on your favorite beach. Maybe it's one you've been to, or maybe it's one that you may visit in the future. Either way, just feel the warm sand underneath your mat and let your body sink into that. Notice how the sand takes the weight a little more than the floor. It's almost like when you relax into the arms of a loved one and your body just meshes into theirs. This concept of yielding, giving your weight, receiving support. Let the sand underneath you support the weight of the whole of your body, from the back of your head to your heels. Make any little adjustments so that you are really comfortable lying on your back. And imagine that full moon rising over the ocean. And feel, sense and imagine the moonlight dancing across the water to the soles of your feet. Let the moonlight flow in through the soles of your feet, relaxing all of your toes, the tops of your feet, your ankles and your heels. Let the moonlight meander up through your lower legs, like it's moving through you, above you, below you, and pouring into your knees and your kneecaps. Feel it spiraling through the thighs, relaxing the front to the back and the sides of the thighs. Pour into your pelvis, softening the whole of the pelvis. And then bring your awareness to just beyond the tip of the tailbone, to your root chakra, Muladhara. Feel, sense and imagine a spinning vortex of deep earth red like Uluru. And the seed mantra is Lam. Either mentally or out loud, chant that mantra 3 times. Lam, Lam, Lam. Feel the moonlight moving through Sushumna to the top of your pelvis, Swadhisthana, the sacral chakra. Feel, sense and imagine a spinning vortex of a deep burnt orange. And the mantra is Balm, either out loud or mentally chant. Vam, Vam, Vam. Feel the moonlight spreading into your lower back and all the organs of your abdomen. And traveling through Sushumna, the energetic spine. When the energy is balanced in the lunar and the solar, it will flow through Sushumna. And let it flow up to Manipura, your internal sun or solar chakra, usually around the level of your navel, often a little higher, and inwards to your spine. And the mantra, as you feel and sense this spinning golden vortex, is Vam. Vam. Let's try Ram even. Ram. Ram. Feel the moonlight spreading into your diaphragm, your ribs, the organs of your chest, collarbones, breastbone, shoulder blades, whole of your mid-back. And feel the moonlight also move through Sushumna to your heart space, Anahata. Feel, sense and imagine this emerald green spitting vortex. And the seed mantra is Yam. 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 Feel the moonlight spreading to your armpits, your shoulders, into your neck, the front and back and sides of the neck. And become aware of the throat center, Vishuddha. And imagine a spinning vortex of sky blue, balanced and whole. And the mantra is Hum. Om. 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 Feel, sense and imagine the moonlight moving through your shoulders, your armpits, and slowly down your arms, softening your elbows, your lower arms, wrists, the palms of the hands and the backs of the hands, your thumbs, index fingers, middle fingers, ring fingers, little fingers. Feel the moonlight flowing through the whole of your spine, tip of tailbone to base of skull. Feel it pouring into the base of the skull, softening the scalp, the skull, the brain. And become aware of Ajna chakra, the top of the spinal cord, level with your third eye. And imagine a spinning vortex of a brilliant indigo violet. And the mantra is Om. 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 Feel the moonlight spreading from here into the whole of your forehead, both eyebrows and the space between the eyebrows. Softening the right eye, left eye, and behind the eyes. Right jaw, left jaw, both cheeks, your nose, your lips, tongue, and teeth. Feel, sense, and imagine the moonlight moving out through the crown. Swarashwara. And cascading around your body and surrounding you in moonlight. And the mantra for the crown is Om. Feel the vibration resonate through the whole of your being. Om. Allow yourself to rest, cocooned within the moonlight. And very gently start to bring your awareness back to your body lying on the floor. And for a moment, imagine that you are cocooned within the moonlight. And as you begin to lengthen and deepen the breath, draw that breath from the core of the earth. Bring it to your navel and let it spread into every single cell in your body. And take the moonlight with you. Take the practice into every single cell in your body. And as you exhale, bring the breath back to your navel and then send it like an anchor or a root deep into the earth, grounding you into your body grounding you into the earth. Keep breathing with this lengthening, deepening breath. And begin to move in whatever way you feel guided. You might take your arms over your head and stretch. Bring your knees into your chest. And then slowly make your way over onto your side and come into a seated pose. And sit however is comfortable for you. So you might sit in Vajrasana, or you might sit cross-legged, or sit up on your couch or your chair. And one of the things I'm grateful for is we can do a full practice of alternate nostril breathing because we're not wearing masks. So take a moment to make sure that your nostrils are open and clear. Remember how powerful this practice is to do without your hand. So if your nostrils feel blocked, please do it without the hand. If your nostrils are open and clear, take your dominant hand and place your index in or your middle two fingers to touch the point between the eyebrows. Let your spine be long. And breathe in through both nostrils, and as you breathe out, send your breath deep into the earth, grounding you into your sit bones and into the earth below you. Then you close off the right nostril if you're using your hand. Breathing in gently through the left nostril. Mentally count the length of your breath. And then close off the left and open the right and exhale for the same count. Then you'll breathe in through the left nostril for the same count. Settle into the natural pause at the top of the breath. Close the right, open the left, and exhale through the left. Inhaling through the left. If you'd like to add a gentle pause, pause for half the length of your inhale. You can add Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor lock, and Khichari Mudra, tip of tongue, roof of mouth. Then release the bandha and the tongue, open the right, and exhale for the same count. You inhale through that right, close the right, gently retain with or without the bandha and the tongue seal. Then release the bandha and the tongue, open the left, and exhale smoothly, consistently for the same count. So do one more round on your own, and remember you could lower the hand and do the practice mentally. If you're adding the bandha, Mula Bandha, see the bony pelvis, pubic bone at the front, tailbone at the back, left and right sit bone, draw them in and up. Then you release the bandha as you exhale right. Then you'll breathe in through the right. Pause with or without the bandha. And exhale through the left. And when you complete, bring all the tips of your fingers together. Feeling the effects of this full moon practice. Let's finish this practice with 3 Oms. If you'd like to join in, and there's no pressure to join in, but if you'd like to join in, bring your hands to your heart space. Take a moment to dedicate this love. Then we'll rub the palms together. Take your breath in as you open your hands wide. It is with great respect and infinite love that we now conclude this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I honor that place in you where light, love, and truth dwell. For when you rest in that place in you, and I rest in that place in me, we are one. Namaste. Thank you. Let me turn this off so we can have a chat.